Alright everybody, welcome back to the Arena Football Nation channel. We got a lot to catch up with when it comes to the National Arena League. Got the final regular season games. You had two amazing conference championship games. And we got to set up one big national championship game for the National Arena League. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's been a little bit of a pause since I recently made videos, but let's get right back into it and cover what we have most recently with the National Arena League and the setup for the finale of the 2025 season. So in the final week of the regular season on Saturday, May 31st, we had three great games to close out the regular season for the National Arena League. And while none of them really had any big implications when it came to the conference championship games, as those were essentially set up and ready to go, they still were some amazing football to watch and a complete joy. First up, we had the Wheeling Miners traveling to take on the Columbus Lions. And man, I really did not expect this game to go the way it did. If you did not check it out, if you missed it, I highly, ask you go check it out if you love arena or football, because this was an exciting game, so fun to watch. And I mean, Wheeling Miners, they had left nothing out there on the field. They gave it everything they had. This was their championship game. This was their chance to, turn around what started off to be a really slow start for them. And not saying at all Columbus kind of sleptwalked this game, since they already clinched that American Conference Championship. They still, played a great game as well. I just think Wheeling, that the Miners just, man, they want to prove a point that they deserve to be in the NAL. They are not no slouch, and they wanted to earn some respect, closing out their season against one of the teams that are going to appear in the American Conference Championship. So, man, what an exciting, amazing game this was. Like I said, if you missed it, go check it out. It was such fun, football to watch. And what was the biggest and most exciting part was right there at the end. The Miners are down big. They were the Columbus, had a really solid lead. Felt like they had a good clinch on the game, but the Wheeling Miners had no quit in that game, and pretty crazy overall. Just a quick recap with Miners overall came back and won in overtime over the Columbus Lions with less than 5 minutes left, down 16 points. So just a crazy sequence of events in this game. You had a hook and ladder performed by the Miners, an onside kick succeeded, and an interception. And just absolutely insanity, right? I'm watching this live, going crazy. And then on top of it all off, their defense held the Lions in overtime, and took and the Miners scored on a field goal to walk it off. I mean, this game had absolutely everything in it. It was just this is why we love arena indoor football. Games like this might have been, in my opinion, one of the games of the year for the NAL. It was just absolute insanity. So fun to watch. So I implore you, check it out if you haven't already. But like I said, Minor season was over. This game didn't mean anything other than bragging rights and pride on the line for them going into this off season. Columbus, big disappointment for them and their fans. Obviously, they're still going to go to the playoff game, the American Conference Championship game. But man, at home, they dropped their final home game against the Miners like that. It's gotta hurt, gotta sting. So props to the Miners. The Lions need to let their wins and move on and turn it up for the Renegades, because the Renegades are going to host it with their amazing season they're having. So that should be a great game as well. Next up, the second final regular season game of the NAL season. Next game you had was the Renegades going to the Rougarou, and this was just a warm-up for them. They handled the Rougarou really easily. 63-12 was the final score there. I'm sorry, I didn't say the final score. The Wheeling Miners won over the Columbus Lions 47-44. Didn't put that score line there. I apologize. But anyways, back to the Renegades and Rougarou. Renegades just had a little warm-up, for their playoff game. They easily dispatched the Rougarou 63-12. A lot of questions for the Rougarou going into this offseason with that. They're kind of looking a little rough there at the end. They're looking more like the stereotypical expansion team who are still figuring things out, getting their rosters really kind of gelling, having a little bit of a rough season. Usually, not always, but usually, expansion teams have a little rough start their first year. Unlike Renegades, who are just the anomaly when it comes to that kind of thought process. But yeah, looking a little rough there, dropping that last game in the NAL for them. Renegades, they're just ready to go. Looking extremely impressive, dropping 63 on the Rougarou. They're going to host that American Conference Championship game against the Columbus Lions, so they're looking like a well-oiled machine, ready to go. Final game of the regular season for the NAL. You had the Omaha Beef traveling to the Colorado Spartans, and this game, at the end of the day, these two teams had locked in the National Conference Championships. They were going to be both in it no matter what. What this game was going to decide, though, was not only pride on the line, bragging rights, Spartans still trying to get that first win over the Beef. This was going to decide, the winner of this game was going to host the National Conference Championship. So this was really big at the end of the day for both teams. Both really wanted to obviously get that extra home game, host that championship. All that comes entailed within hosting a championship game for the conference. So really big game for both. And Spartans, man, they took them down to the line, the Beef. This was a solid game, a lot of fun to watch. Really, really solid game. And I really thought the Spartans were finally going to knock off the Beef, get that first win, and host that championship game, like I said. But man, there's no quitting the Beef, and there's a reason why. They are one of the perennial powerhouses when it comes to arena indoor football, and they ended up coming back and sealing that win, 35-34, entitling them the host of the championship game for the National Conference, and improving them to 4-0 over the Spartans. So, really solid game. Like I said, one of my predictions of the season was the Spartans were going to upset some teams, and it turned out to be the Bandits, the Sioux City Bandits. Still not good enough just yet to beat the Beef. So hats off to both teams. What a great game. That was a lot of fun to watch as well, and really just exciting football. Spartans are looking like really solid team to possibly give a Beef some good competition here. So we'll see in that championship game that will entail those two teams, however you want to say it, I don't care. Anyways, that would close out the final regular season games for the NAL. Some great football. There's a lot of games we obviously didn't cover on the channel. We had to take a step back, but overall great games there. I had a lot of fun watching them, and they set up some really solid conference championship games. Let's take a look at the standings first. This is the final regular season standings for the NAL, and I thought it was just interesting to take a look at this. We started at the beginning of the season to see what we had to work with, and now we are at the end. And did things turn out how you all expected? Let me know in the comments below. Did you think that these teams would be placed in where they are in the standings? What surprises you? What stands out to you? What doesn't stand out to you? I know a lot of you had Beef at the top of the national division, obviously. But I know a lot of you didn't have the Renegades and the Americans, so I'm a big standings guy, so I like to look at this stuff. But really quick, we'll just go over it. American division, you had the Beaumont Renegades, obviously, ranked 1, shocking the world in the Arena and Indoor Football League. The Arena and Indoor Football World. They finished 8-1. That one lone loss to the Columbus Lions, which is the team they will be facing in the American Conference Championship. So great storyline there, right? Having a crazy good season, man. What can't you say? Expansion team, first year. They just put it together. The coach and the staff there just put together such a solid squad, and arguably the tougher division, I would say, going into the season. How it ended up being at the end. Probably the national division was better, but going into the season, you had two really solid teams coming into the league. You had the Lions and you had the Miners, both coming off championship seasons. Cobras are no slouches. They're one of the old guard teams in the NAL. They're always looking to be very competitive in the hunt for a championship. So it was a pretty stacked division overall going into the season, but at the end, I would say, the national division ended up probably being the much better division. But yeah, all things aside, that's no excuse for how well they played. They played solid. What an impressive inaugural season for the Beaumont Renegades, turning a lot of heads. What a big storyline. So fun to watch too. Some great football. So they ended up #1 in the American Division, sealing that #1 seed for the American Conference Championship. In the second place, you had the Columbus Lions, one of the teams I really expected to be a big force going into the season. They ended up finishing 5-4, dropped a couple games that were, in my eyes, shouldn't have happened. I think they were better than 5-4, but that's just the game, how it goes. That's why we play it, right? And so pretty solid to see them bounce back. They had a little skid there of losses, but they came back, and even with that late loss, the Miners sealed the second place in the American Division with that 5-4 record. So going on to face the Renegades, who are hosting for the American Conference Championship. Third place, you had the Miners at 4-6, and while you might say, "Oh man, that sucks," you know, third place. I know a lot of their fans, and obviously Coach Rez and them all wanted to be in the top 2 to be able to go in that playoff. 4-6 at the end of the day, obviously not the standard they want, but they started really rough to begin the season. So the fact that they made it to, the third, ended up knocking off the Columbus Lions there in their regular season finale, showing the improvement, showing the evolution overall, not just for the roster, the team, the coaching, the adversity they overcame. Really solid at the end of the day to see where they finished. And I'm pretty excited to see what they're going to do next season. If they can keep that high and just keep elevating from there, should be a lot of fun to watch the Miners next season. So pretty solid at the end of the day how they finished. Obviously the 4-6 record, not too great, but if they just let things spiral out of control and didn't really turn it around, they could easily be in the 4 or 5 seed at this point, or hole in the standings very easily. So pretty impressed with how they turned things around and didn't let those early season struggles affect them down the line. In the 4th spot, you have the Rougarou, and they finished with a 3-6 record. Your stereotypical, how I look at this, is you're just your stereotypical expansion team who are figuring things out. Had some pretty close games, some chances to pull some other wins, but overall, not a bad season. 3-6, nothing to scoff at when you could have, pulled off a win here or there. So hopefully they, at the end of the day, are going to return to the National Arena League. Not seeing a lot from their social media or any announcements or anything. So overall, I think the fan engagement could be a little better. Maybe some more advertising. Either way, at the end of the day, I give them probably like a C- this season. Not terrible for an expansion team, but definitely room for improvement. And then one of the biggest storylines and disappointments for the season was the Carolina Cobras. I mean, they ended up having, before they went dormant, they had a 2-4 record, so they were really looking really rough there. A lot of players weren't playing. It looked like this is for another time to talk about this, but I mean, obviously financial issues. Fan attendance didn't look very good. You're barely getting 2,000 in a massive arena like that. It never looked good on TV or on your video. So really disappointing, and I did not see that happening. I mean, I kind of did. You can see the writing on the wall, but man, I did not expect them to go dormant in mid-season. That's pretty rough right there. That's some lower expansion or lower teams. I can see that happening, but not the Carolina Cobras. They're supposed to be one of the big pillars of the arena indoor football world. So that was pretty rough to watch and unfortunate, but they're not officially dead. They are somewhat having a presence, saying that they're just dormant and they're going to have a return. I think they need to go to a much smaller arena. They need to really figure out their whole home situation, because I just don't see it working in Greensboro. They need much better fan attendance than they've been having, and it just blows my mind, because they are overall a pretty successful team. They've won a championship, so it just really is disappointing to see the fan attendance, and I feel like they could do a lot better in some smaller arenas somewhere around North Carolina, throughout the state, maybe even South Carolina. I mean, just thinking outside the bubble. Maybe I'll make a video on that, on an arena or somewhere else they could play that would work better for them. But either way, they're at the bottom. Did not see that coming at all. Both expansion teams going higher than the Carolina Cobras in the standings. So let's get to the National Division. Omaha Beef. Yeah, a lot of you out there definitely have this team. Omaha Beef. They're one of the perennial powerhouses in indoor and arena football, obviously. A lot of you have those at number 1. Obviously, I didn't have no doubt that they would it'd be them, or my other pick was maybe the Spartans would knock them off 1. I didn't think the Spartans would sweep them, but maybe they'll knock them off 1, and maybe we could have a little bit of drama late in the season, but nah. Beef held on. They sealed the National Division in the standings, win it with a record of 8-1. So only 1 loss, and that 1 loss obviously ended a very big winning streak that they had. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They, all trash talk and all that other stuff aside, they still won the division. Going to end up going to go play a conference championship game, and yeah, I mean, they're going to host it, and then if they win, they're going to go play for a championship. So that's what matters, right? So another, great season for the Beef. Pretty impressive. 8-1. Have a high standard, and they uphold it every season. Second place in the standings, you have the Colorado Spartans with a 7-3 record. So yeah, I was pretty high on the Spartans going into the season. Like I've said before, I thought they had a team that was, going to, I thought Coach Shaw was going to have a good, solid squad put together. He seems to know what he's doing pretty well. He knows that division's pretty tough with the Beef and the Bandits. So I feel like he had the drive and the intensity to want to, match or at least get to the point where he could beat those 2 teams. And he did knock off the Bandits. There was, and obviously the Horsemen. There were some other games that are pretty solid. Beating the Miners, traveling across country to open the season was pretty impressive as well. So pretty great season overall. If he can contain, that solid intensity when it comes to that team, and just get a few more pieces here and there, they might be a team to, watch out for next season as well. Maybe they'll finally be a team to knock off the Beef, and they'll be going to the championship, the NAL Championship at some point. But either way, 7-3, they're going to go play Beef and have an opportunity to, go to that championship with the conference championship game that we'll cover here soon. And third place, you had the Idaho Horsemen. 3-5 was their regular season record. Another unfortunate and down year for them. Really need to. It looks like a talent thing to me, honestly. A lot of these games, they're just getting outmanned and out talented, by the team. So I could see them obviously turning around, getting a lot better, roster turnover, and getting some talent in there in Idaho. But once again, I just proud of the Idaho Horsemen. They could still be down in their small league or irrelevancy, or not really even trying, but stepping up to the NAL and doing their best to compete against these teams out here in the NAL. You gotta give your hats off to them and their general manager and their coach. At the end of the day, they answered the call. They stepped up, and they were the big dogs. So hats off to that, like I said, but obviously room for improvement. Sioux City Bandits, obviously in the 4th spot after that, with a 3-6 record. Pretty disappointed, obviously, with how things went with them. Obviously, they're one of the teams that they have a high standard. They want to win the division. They want to knock off the Beef. So 3-6 record was pretty surprising. But I mean, it's just some teams have off seasons, and obviously they got a couple games where they just didn't win. The teams wanted it more, or just a few plays here or there, what have you. And yeah, unfortunately, they're at the bottom of the table, and I don't expect to see that happening very often, obviously. And they should be coming back next season, definitely, with a wanting to get some revenge and turn that thing around. Because Sioux City Bandits, they are not used to that kind of mediocrity or that record. So looking to see big things from them next year as well. So yeah, that was the final regular season standings for the 2025 season. Let's get to some stats before we cover those conference championship games. And these are the regular season leaders for these stats. Excuse me. So really quick, I just wanted to throw that out there, as these achievements are pretty impressive on their own. In the passing game, for total pass yards, you had 1,095 yards by Carl Robinson III, quarterback for the Beaumont Renegades. Pretty impressive. That's a ton of yards, even obviously in the indoor game. So hats off there. Pretty crazy. Next up was Giovanni Sanders with Idaho with 774. So pretty awesome. So their passing yards per game, you had 140.4. That was Andre Sell quarterback for the Colorado Spartans. Next up, you had Grant Russell with 139. So pretty impressive there. And then touchdown passes. You had 24 touchdown passes by Carl Robinson III for the Renegades. Obviously, that's why they're hosting a championship game and having the successful season that they are. So what a season for him. Next up was Andre Sell with the Colorado Spartans. He had 18. Rushing, with rushing yards, you had the leader was 362 yards, and that was Drew Prohaska, the running back for the Sioux City Bandits. Pretty good number there. Next up was James Summers with the Carolina Cobras, who had 356. So that's pretty crazy to me. That's what stands out. James Summers at second place. The team didn't even finish the season, and he still had the second most rushing yards. So that's pretty crazy stat line there. Rushing yards per game. You had James Summers, once again, crazy to me. He had 50.9 rushing average yards for the Carolina Cobras. So, wow, what a season from him. I mean, imagine what he could have done if he had finished the whole full season. Next up, you had Drew Prohaska again for the Sioux City Bandits. He had 13 total touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. Next up was Daenerys Antoine, and he had 12 for the Renegades. All right, receiving yards. The leader for that was 426 yards, and that was Kyler Henson, receiver for the Idaho Horsemen, so hats off to him. Next up was Damon Powell with the Bandits, who had 383. Then receiving yards per game, once again, Kyler Henson, who had 60.9 receiving average yards for the Idaho Horsemen. Next up was Devonair Conlife. I'm so sorry, I butchered that. But for the Beef, and he had 53.6 average per game. Excuse me. Then touchdown receptions. You had Vincent Wilkerson for the Renegades, who has 9 total touchdowns. Next up was Zuri Davis in second place with 9 for so essentially tied actually for the Renegades. Defensive stats. Solo tackles for the season, the regular season. You had 47 tackles by Isaias Gandy. Isaias. Excuse me if I mispronounced that. But linebacker for the Colorado Spartans. So what a outstanding season for him defensively. Next up was Brandon Munoz, who had 46. So right there behind him. Next up was the sack leader with 12.5 sacks was Sam Hammond, defensive line for the Colorado Spartans. Next up was Corey Henry for the Spartans as well. He had 6.5. And finally, interceptions. You had the leader was 6 interceptions was Isaiah Hall. He was a defensive back for the Colorado Spartans. And next up, also with 6 was Trey Dudley Giles for the Omaha Beef. So I just really quickly want to go over those the stat lines there. The regular season leaders, pretty impressive. Hats off to you all, gentlemen. What a great season. And I hope you continue to have such great success in the Arena No Football game, or if you go on to play anywhere else as well. Just wanted to acknowledge your accomplishments and what a great season you had so far. Or if you are not playing anymore, this season in general. But yeah, so pretty awesome season overall. A lot of exciting games. It was a lot of fun to watch. But we're not over yet. We got those 2 conference games to cover. And then we'll set up the championship game. But yeah, so pretty awesome season. Like I said, we're setting up the National and American Division Title Championship games. I have a little blurb here. The National Arena League completed its 13th week of hard-fought football. 9 teams entered the season, and only 4 gained the achievement to play in the postseason games for the National Arena League playoff round, which will determine the first ever National Division champion and the first ever American Division champion. From the National Division, the defending National Arena League champion, the Omaha Beef, with an 8-1 record, hosts their toughest division opponent in the Colorado Spartans at 7-3. The game kicks off Saturday, June 7th at Omaha, Nebraska. In the American Division, you had the Beaumont Renegades, 8-1, who took the league by storm, defeating multiple league champions in their 2025 NAL debut, take on the only team to hand them a loss in one of the founding NAL franchises, the Columbus Lions, who have a 5-4 record. Despite their cat-like name, they rank as the biggest underdog in the playoff race, but have a strong history of battling their way to the championship game, with 3 overall NAL Championship appearances and defeating heavily favored NAL teams like the Lehigh Valley Steelhawks, the Massachusetts Pirates, and the winner of this weekend's games will be named by the first ever division champions and will be advancing to the 2025 National Arena League Championship game. So yeah, it's going to be another rematch. It's going to be a rematch for the National Division Championship with the Beef hosting. And it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be hard to top that last game because it was looking like the Spartans might, upset the Beef, but the Beef came back and just sealed that win. So yeah, it's going to be another great game. The Beef obviously looking to defend their home turf, win this game, and move on to the championship. So look to see a lot of great things in that game. And then obviously the Columbus Lions are looking to knock off the Renegades again to advance to their NAL Championship game. Renegades are hosting at home. They're looking to continue to shock the world, win this game, and then end up hosting the championship game. So a lot of great stuff there. So let's go ahead and get into it. The National Division Championship. You had the Colorado Spartans traveling to take on the Omaha Beef. And this was a fantastic game. A lot of fun to watch. Like I said, if you didn't watch this one, go to NAL YouTube page, their new one. Go to the unlisted or whatever, however it is. You got to go find it live, whatever, and find this game, watch it because it was so fun to watch. It was just a joy to watch. It was great arena and indoor football action, and it was back and forth. For the most part, three and a quarter of the game. 3 quarters and I'd say about half of the fourth quarter. And then there at the end of the fourth quarter, last 3 minutes, Beef finally sealed it. Took the win. But what a great game, like I said. But like I said, Spartans were up 26-24 at halftime over the Beef. Really solid game. Spartans really came out on all cylinders with their offense, making some great plays. This game had everything you could ask for in a conference championship game. There's a lot of talent on both sides. These players really left everything on the field in this game. But like I said, through 3 quarters, it was a really great game, going back and forth. But the Beef pulled away in the fourth quarter, and that was off the legs of Tobias Taylor and Tommy Armstrong, and a late game interception to really seal it. 125 points score total between these two teams. What a scoreline there! That's a lot of points, even for an indoor and arena game. But the Beef go on to they end up winning this game. Really solid win here. They continue to just edge out those pesky Spartans who they're a real foe this year. And this would be their 5th title game in a row for the Beef. And I believe that's 5-0 versus the Spartans all time in this series. And even though the little bit of a rivalry is lopsided, there have been some great games between these two teams, and the Spartans have had their chances to really knock off the Beef. But hats off to the Beef, obviously, taking on all challengers, and somehow, some way at the end, no matter what, they come out on top. So what a fantastic game on this end. Hats off to the Spartans. What a great season. I know they wish they could have they're just 1 or 2 plays away, you could say, from really turning this thing around, beating the Beef, and going on to a championship game, or even hosting this conference championship game. But not a bad year at all for them. They're going to have a great future if they keep it up, like I said. So what a great championship game. Like I said, go watch it on YouTube if you have a chance. You will not be disappointed. In the American Division Championship, you had the Columbus Lions traveling to take on the Beaumont Renegades. And I guess it's not really a curse. I can't really call it a curse, really. But it looks like just the Columbus Lions are just not, able to pull it off, that NAL Championship. They've been knocked off before multiple times in the NAL Championship games. And here they are in 2025 against an expansion team who they already beat once this season. And you would think they would be able to pull this off and go to the championship game. And who knows, maybe they'd finally knock off the other team to win their first ever NAL Championship. Against the Beef, obviously, who would be the team that they'd be playing. But no, the Renegades end up holding off the Lions and win 56-45. And man, you just can't say enough about the the level of play and what the Renegades have brought to the table this season. They're just like the Beef. They're getting everybody's best, and everybody's trying to knock them off. And they're just stepping up to the challenge every single time and really playing impressively. So it was a very, very exciting game as well. A lot of fun to watch, and I just can't say enough about these two teams. Coming in and playing this American Division Championship game and giving it all they had. But man, it's got to hurt for the Columbus Lions, right? They are a founding member of the NAL, solid franchise, solid team. Always have been everywhere they went, and they still cannot get that elusive NAL Championship. So it sucks and it hurts for them, I'm sure. But man, just if you ever need any drive coming into the next season, as a team, as a manager, as an owner, it's got to be, you got to get over that hump, because they've won so many lower leagues championships, but they've never won an NAL championship. So that's just something there for them to give them some fire and some drive going into the off season. So with that win, that means the Beaumont Renegades are going to host the Omaha Beef in Texas for the 2025 National Arena League Championship. And I think this is going to be a fantastic game. I cannot wait to watch this one. It's looking to be a really solid game. And what great storyline. You have the Omaha Beef, the defending champion, who are obviously looking to repeat. This will be their 5th championship game in a row. Like I said, one of the perennial powerhouses in the arena and football world. And you got the upstart, surprise, the Beaumont Renegades hosting one game away from in the regular season from being undefeated going into this championship game. So absolute insanity. It should be a lot of fun. These are two solid squads with some great coaches and some fantastic players on each side. So I'm sure they're going to leave it all out on the field and give it everything they have. And should be, like I said, just a ton of fun to watch. But yeah, like I said, the National Arena League will host the 2025 National Arena League Championship presented by Hard AF Seltzer, and it will be on Monday, June 16th at the Doggett Ford Arena. The defending NAL champions and the 2025 National Division champion, the Omaha Beef, 8-1, take on the American Division champion Beaumont Renegades, 8-1 as well. An incredible first-year achievement. The Beaumont Renegades have earned the right to host a championship game in their inaugural season, a feat very few teams have accomplished. So yeah, over the weekend and leading up to the weekend, they're going to have all their awards, their little ceremony, the NAL will. So we'll obviously make a video, probably, I would say Sunday when it's all been released. Just just talking about those awards, because they are pretty fun to talk about, and just going back and forth, get the fans and other coaches and players. Everybody has an opinion, so pretty fun to make a little video about that. We'll do that. So should be a lot of fun. That's all leading up to the media day, which would be Sunday, June 15th, and then the championship Monday, June 16th. So should be a lot of fun. I don't know. Maybe I'll live stream and we'll just talk about it as the game's going on. Who knows? We'll see. But other than that, that was a quick recap of the end of the season, the two playoff games, and a setup for our 2025 National Arena League Championship game. So hope everybody enjoys this season. Hope everybody enjoyed the video. Thank you for checking it out. If you did, really appreciate everybody that's been subscribed and following along. We should be starting making videos again. This is just the first one. We're going to be start railing them out here soon to accommodate the IFL and the AF1 as their seasons are still still going on and are gearing up to their playoffs as well. So if you like this kind of content and you appreciate it, hey, I would appreciate it if you like the video and you subscribe and follow along for more. Join the Arena Football Nation. We are growing, trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Last I saw, we were 884. So I really appreciate everybody that has. Thank you for sticking around through this little break we had. But we were back to making videos and back to watching some exciting and amazing arena indoor football action. So, like I said, everybody enjoy your weekend. Hopefully you can have a chance to check out this game. I know it's on a Monday night. That kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I guess the only time they get that arena. But either way, hope you enjoy it, and I will see you in the next one.